Hi, and welcome to our very first Crochet-Along. I'm Linda Permann from One Big Happy Yarn Co., and we want to be your yarn shop no matter where you are. Today I want to show you this really cool cowl. We're calling it the One Big Happy Cowl. And I wanted to let you know that we hear you. I love to crochet, we love crochet just as much as knitting, so I wanted to make a version of our One Big Happy knitted cowl to work on with you. So this is a great project if you haven't crocheted in a while, you just want something quick and fun, or maybe if you're learning to crochet. I'm going to walk you through every step of the way. We're going to start with a foundation chain, and then we're going to work back and forth in rows. We're going to do something called back loop only crochet, and that gives us these ridges that look a lot like the knitted ridges that we had in our knitted One Big Happy cowl. Then we're actually going to crochet this as one straight piece that we twist and sew together. So there's no fancy footwork really as we're crocheting this. It's just all in the finishing that gives you this nice little twist in the front. So you can see here I have two different versions. I'm just using a different color. So this one is Coast and this one is Meadow. We have lots more colors for you at onebighappy.com, so be sure to check the link in the description box and you can learn all about what you'll need to make this. I'm hoping you have some basic crochet experience. You might feel comfortable holding your yarn, doing basic stitches, and keeping some consistent tension. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through every step of the way. So what do you need to crochet along with us? Let's take a look. First, there's the yarn. This is always the fun part, right? It's so fun to buy and pet and squeeze and squish your yarn. I'm using Barocco Cocoa. It's a super bulky yarn, so that means that on the label you're looking for a size 6 or the word super bulky. Typically this yarn is really thick and squishy. This is a superwash wool, but you can find acrylics that would work for this. I like the superwash because it's really light and lofty, even though it's a thicker yarn, so it's not a heavy yarn to work with. So if we take a look at this yarn particularly, it's constructed in a really unique way. So it's 100% superwash wool, and even this little ply, this tiny strand that's going across, is superwash wool. That being said, even though it's superwash, it's not a washable yarn, so just always make sure you want to look at the label of your yarn to make sure that you're comfortable with the care that you need to provide for your finished garment. And one thing to keep in mind is that this ball of yarn has 77 yards, so you want to make sure that if you are using a different yarn that you're going to use something that has at least that much, because we'll use almost the entire thing to make this cowl. So the next thing you're going to need is a crochet hook, and I use the size P crochet hook. You might need a different size for gauge, and we'll talk a lot about that in the next episode, but this is probably going to get you there. Any brand of crochet hook is fine. You just want to make sure that it's 11.5 millimeters. I like the Susan Bates brand, and generally when you get up to this size you're going to be looking at a plastic or Luxite hook. Just because it's so thick, aluminum would be pretty heavy. So again, just make sure your size P, 11.5 millimeters for the crochet hook. We're also going to need some stitch markers. These are optional, but I have a really great tip that's going to help you not accidentally decrease along the edges, and you'll need a couple of stitch markers to be able to do that. These are clover stitch markers. They have this funny wiggly shape to them. That's kind of a newer thing, but it actually makes it really easy to slide them in and out of the yarn, even if you don't want to lock them every single time, so I really do love these. They are the quick locking stitch markers, and again, you can find those at onebighappy.com. For finishing, you're going to need a tapestry needle or a yarn needle to weave in your ends. The Chibi brand from Clover is my absolute favorite yarn needle. It's so smooth, it's easy to thread, it glides right through, and I've been using these for years and years. I highly recommend them. You'll also just need some snips to cut your yarn tails, anything you have that works, but it's always fun to have a nice pair of scissors. And we'll be using a gauge check. So this is what we're going to use to check that we have the right number of stitches per inch so that we're on track and we know we're only going to need one ball to make this cowl. And last but not least, you'll need a printed pattern which comes in your kit that you can find at onebighappy.com. And that's really all there is to it. So next time, meet me back here and I'm going to show you how to do your foundation chain, how to do your back loop only single crochet, and we'll get started crocheting this cowl. Hope to see you there. Happy crocheting!